Minnesota State Representative Shane Mekeland has put forward a bill called the Zywiec Act in the state legislature. It's prohibiting gender-affirming medical care and certain counseling for minors in the state of Minnesota, establishing penalties for violations, proposing coding for new law in Minnesota statutes. But that's not all. As our friend and next guest, Dr. Joseph Sansone, recently reported, the Minnesota State Legislature is also reviewing a proposed bill that would label the COVID-19 jabs for what they really are, bioweapons. And in so doing, the state of Minnesota would get those bioweapons pulled off the market. And now I'm joined by that brave man, Minnesota State Representative Shane Mekeland, Dr. Andrew Zywiec, and Dr. Joseph Sansone. All three of you here with us, making important moves that, I think we should dub all the team humanity, because you guys are all trying to do the right thing to save humanity. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to start with you, Representative Mekeland, since you're new to our show. The other two have been on a few times. I can't understand why more state representatives, state and local representatives aren't trying to pull these shots from the market and protect our children from the so-called gender-affirming care. Tell us about what you're doing.
So, actually, it was Dr. Sansone that brought this to my attention, that because I put forth a bill, 3152, that was prohibiting COVID shots, mRNA, and he was the one that pointed out it already existed in our statute, weapons of mass destruction and bioweapons, which I was not aware of, which is statute number 609712. Upon reading that, to confirm, that was that step of it. I also have other ones which would put ivermectin hydroxychloroquine over the counter, which was House File 2230. So this has been something that I've been pretty passionate about for a long time. It's been a long 4 or 5 years now since this whole thing started. You know, it was remdesivir in the beginning, then it became the COVID shot. We've had some interesting response to it. I will say, for my case, overwhelmingly, the emails and text messages that I've received have been overwhelmingly positive. Yes, I've had some doozies of negatives ones as well, but that's kind of how we got to where we are right now.
Well, I want to ask you a quick follow-up on that. I know you're talking about from constituents and the public, right? The response has been overwhelmingly positive. What about from your colleagues in the state legislature?
Well, there was, I think, 7 that signed on with me, and I probably could have gotten more. It was just a matter of timing. By the time I got the bill, and by the time I had to get it introduced, it was the last day before Passover break to put it in, and then it was introduced the Monday after. So I haven't had any personal pushback from any of my colleagues as of yet. I would say the ones that I'm seeming to be most prevalent are local state doctors that lay out a litany of how good it is and how much cancer curing potential it has, or all these other things. But that's been the bulk of the pushback.
As you pointed out to the representative, Dr. Sansone, he's on pretty solid legal footing here, which you've described on our show in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. These are biological, technological weapons of mass destruction. And we're going to get this bill introduced in every state. We're going to get into a lot of states, the deadlines have passed, but we're going to get in a few more states, hopefully. And in the fall, we're going to get it everywhere. And I'm going to tell you right now, the 2026 elections, the midterm elections, are going to be about whether you support or oppose the use of biological warfare against American citizens. I can tell you right now, RFK Jr. has seen this bill. And what they're trying to slow walk it back and focus only on COVID shots, only for the kids. No, all the mRNA injections need to come off the market immediately, and products, because you're killing people. These are weapons of mass destruction. You do not need to be a rocket scientist to know that if you're giving a bunch of people chronic diseases, you are shortening their lifespans, like we talked about last time. So we're going to put the fear of God into these people. A lot of people don't know about this yet. But I'm going to tell you right now, the people who matter on the other side are aware of it.
And to that, I would say that more. To that, I would say that more and more people on even the other side of the aisle who initially were totally in belief of the COVID shot have now either had somebody very adversely affected or lost a loved one, and they're finally starting to ask questions.
Wow. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. I feel like in my general life, so of course state representatives would have the same experience, right? Because, I mean, all of us know somebody, and that goes back to a Rasmussen poll. Almost everyone knows somebody or is related to someone in their world that's been either killed or injured by the vaccines. I also feel, in getting to your bill, Dr. Z, and I hope it passes, because then it codifies your name, so more people have to say it regularly. I think it's great. But I feel like, more people have woken up to the dangers of this so-called gender affirming care as well. Talk about your bill, and I know this is proposed in Minnesota. Has it been proposed in any other states as well?
So, of course, this is a really big hot topic right now, and I think every state has some discussion at some level on this. Now, a lot of states have pushed to have more restrictions on gender affirming care in minors. Some states have made it illegal to perform gender affirming care in minors. The new thing with this bill in particular is using existing criminal codes and statutes to go after individuals who have already performed gender affirming care. There is no excuse for individuals who have given puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or performed surgical mutilation on children. I believe it should be the same for adults, but right now, the most important aspect is at the children. So, in Minnesota, we used existing criminal statutes for criminal neglect, coercion, misconduct, and assault and battery to retrospectively be able to go after physicians. Now, these things hold anywhere from around 5 years to 20 years in prison. Prospectively, the legislation shows would be a 10-year sentence in prison and up to, I believe, a $500,000 fine. So that's the angle we're going for here, and I hope that will provide some footing for other states to retroactively go after physicians too, because it can't just be a ban that starts today and says, okay, from this point forward, you're not allowed to mutilate kids anymore. No, like this was illegal. This was, everything about it was absolutely atrocious, and people need to be held to account.
What's the likelihood of these two bills passing your state legislature and being signed into law in your state? Representative.
Well, we do have Governor Walz. I think that it says quite a bit. He's very proud of the transgender sanctuary state that he signed into law in 2023.
Tampon Tim.
Or MaxiPad man. We did have Riley Gaines here a couple, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago, talking about the circumstances of what she's been forced to go through, and she actually told us when we met before we went out on the Capitol steps, a situation where she was in a locker room with a colleague, and in walks a completely fully intact biological male, completely naked. And then this fell only a week or two after we had our statutorily required sexual harassment training as legislators. And I found it interesting I was like imagining my daughter in that scenario and wondering at what point can she file a complaint? Like, you're already in a very ridiculous situation, but what has to happen before they have the justification to file a complaint at that point? And it's an 80-20% issue, even in Minnesota. 80% are against all this nonsense. And I think the public needs to get a little bit louder about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate everything you're doing in the effort to protect our children, whether it's from the bioweapons or from puberty blockers and just the American public at large. Look, let's revisit this as it progresses along, and we'll welcome you all back. We're talking a lot about the MAHA movement today, so this was a perfect segment to fit in, because it's real examples of what we can do at the state level to change. I know you're dealing with a governor, an unfriendly governor to these bills in the governor's mansion, Representative Mekeland, but hopefully something will change in the future and you can actually get those two bills signed into law. Representative Mekeland, Dr. Sansone, and Dr. Zywiec, thank you both, all three, for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Emily.